Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB Live Before Lock / MLB Strategy Show. If we even have 2 games tonight, we'll see what happens at Wrigley Field. But 3 games for the early slate. Decent size, right? Where you got a 50K to first up top on DraftKings for 3 games. So we're here to talk about it. Dave Loughran with me. Eric Lindquist, first show I'm doing with you probably since our Thursday NFL shows back in February, January.
Yeah, been a while, but good to see you. We ran into each other in the streets here and there, but obviously more behind the scene work, not nearly as fun as being on a show together. So good to see you. Good to have baseball back. And I said we'll be sick of this come June, but for sure, right now it's exciting to have baseball back. Where even for a half hour, 40 minutes, we'll be able to talk and have some good discussion points for sure.
You know, the other week where Greg asked if you could fill in for me because I wasn't feeling well, and then like 20 minutes later, he's like, never mind. Did I ever tell you what happened?
No, I heard it was an emergency or something, and I was like, yeah, I'll fill in or whatever. And
I thought it was.
Okay.
All right. So I take the dog for a walk. I'm like, all right, I got the show here. I'm going to take the dog for a walk. I'm going to get a workout in, and then I'm going to do the show. I take the dog for a walk, knock back a pre-workout, little toss and wash action. And I go downstairs to start working out. 1 set. All right, we're good. 2 sets. I look down. This is the problem with having these watches sometimes. I look down and like usually, you know, after I set your heart rate, get you up to like, it depends what you're doing, maybe 130, 140, 150, and then rapidly comes back down. Well, I look at it, it's 130 and then 140, then 150, then 160, 170, 180. And now I'm freaking the fuck out, dude. Like I'm freaking out. I'm pacing around. I try and lay down, which is the worst idea ever. And I just feel it going like this. I go, I'm driving myself to the ER. Like I'm driving myself to I get stuck behind some moron that's doing 30 and a 45. Try to get around them on a double yellow. Can't. Still freaking out. Call my wife. I'm like, yeah, it might be dying. So I'm going to the ER. You might have to pick the kids up today. And I get in there.
Every day.
I'm asking, I was like, should I go in? Do I go in? Do I wait? What do I do? And then it started to go back down. Pretty quickly as I'm in the parking lot, and I hit Greg up. I was like, all right, I think I can do the show. So
what the fuck did you, so was so I've heard people who have panic attacks, or this is the other thing that I learned the other day, because I had something kind of similar 2-3 months ago where I was at the gym. I looked at my watch and everything was good. And then I got an alert that just popped up as I was walking out. So like way after the workout.
I told you your heart rate was too high?
Except my heart rate was too high. And I was like, wait, why am I still at 110? So there are certain allergy medications that spike it. So I have really bad allergies. So I was taking allergy med, like a different allergy med that my doctor had picked out for me just for, you know, seasonal allergy stuff. It was like an Allegra D thing. And apparently that can spike heart rate. So they think that was related. I stopped taking that one. I switched to a different allergy medication. Fine. Haven't had any issues. So if there was maybe a medication you were taking, that could be something. But obviously freaky, not an enjoyable feeling. And 170, 180, those are like ranges you don't hit even when you're working out, because you're
only when I'm playing hockey. I can tip like the 190 range when I'm out there for a long shift nonstop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than that, no. I'm not on any medication. I think it was lack of sleep. I got a 4-month here. 4-month deal. Lack of sleep plus this pre-workout, which is no joke. I only do half of it. But then I was fine, and I've been fine ever since. So we're gonna ride this one out if you don't see me on shows anytime soon. Well, yeah.
Well, Luffy died, so that sucks. But also, hit the like button.
Yeah, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us every day. Great Scott said, yeah, Laffy took too much blue chew. I never take, dude, believe it or not, never done the blue chew, never done the, I would imagine, listen, I'm 37 years old. I would imagine sooner than later, but right now we're ripping, baby. We're in good shape. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. I'll let you guys know, or I won't, and you'll know what happened. But hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. What do you think we do? We only have 5 total games. I think we cover the early slate. Not going to take too long. And then take a look at the late slate. More of like a hybrid strategy show live before log.
Love it.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, Einsteinium. No more kids, brother. I'm 2 and done, baby. We're on the same page there. There was
Hit the 200
like
mark quick.
few weeks ago where like my daughter was being real cute and the other one was up there and my wife's like, doesn't this make you want to have three? Are you fucking kidding me? No, no, zero chance, not happening. But all right, let's get into it. Let's get into it. We'll talk early slate and start with, well, I don't think we need to go game by game. I think we take a look at the pitchers, take a look at the stacks, talk about builds here. It makes the most sense. First thing though, I mean, is Leiter the best pitching option on this slate, or do we start looking deeper? I mean, Kenta Maeda has a 4.5 strikeout prop today. Some of the, we could talk about.
So does Leiter.
Well, what's that?
So does Leiter.
So, and right. So like Leiter does too against Detroit. He's more expensive. Carrasco against Boston, Griffin Canning against Tampa Bay. We can pull the tools up, top stack, top pitcher, get into the Sims a little bit too. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Leiter because I feel like there's going to be some kind of artificial ownership that exists there. I look at X in the morning and, just kind of see where gambling Twitter is falling on things. And everybody is just assuming that Jack Leiter is going to go out and mow down this Detroit Tigers lineup. And gotta say, it makes it pretty appealing to play the Tigers on today's slate. That's for sure. Is Jack Leiter a highly touted prospect? Yes. He comes out of Vanderbilt 2021. Absolute. He was a stud at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is notorious for building out these pitchers, and he's just another one in the pipeline. But you go through some of his AAA numbers, and yeah, he's getting the strikeouts, but 4 home runs that come along for the ride here already in those 2 starts, or 3 total games that he had 2 starts at the AAA level so far this season. 3.77 ERA. Working through FanGraphs as well, you can see that they think his fastball is pretty good, and pretty much everything else is hittable. I'm not a huge fan if he's going to end up being sneaky chalk. And by that, I mean, it's hard to use your salary today. And so when you look at the top pitchers tool and you see Jack Leiter there, 25.8% top 2 percentage, I get a little bit worried that, he's the new shiny toy. He has a strikeout rate, that's definitely there at AAA, but we see all the time, whether it's like Brian Bayo or Kyle Harrison, we see these pitchers come out and it's just not there. You don't know until they show up. And so it feels like a lot of people that might embrace Jack Leiter because he's the new shiny toy kind of makes me want to get away from him on today's slate and take some of the more known quantities. I think Ryan Pepio, for me, by far the best pitcher on the slate, but the ownership's already there.
I get it. The one thing you see a lot with these guys too is it's not like they don't have strikeout stuff when they come up, but they're all over the place and they end up walking like 6 batters in 3 innings. We've seen that with several guys already this season. They come up, they've got real live stuff. I mean, look, in three games already, 14 innings, he struck out 44% of batters. That is, you're right. You're talking about the flavor of the week, the shiny new toy. That's going to catch the attention of anybody when you see those type of strikeout numbers. Even go back to Double-A last season where he threw 81 and 2/3 innings. You're striking guys out at 31% clip. It is there. So the question then becomes, if you're getting away from that, because we have him right now, top 2 pitcher probability on DraftKings of 51%. I get it. Still negatively leveraged though, given the 71% projected ownership. Where do you think the smart pivot is here? Is it Kenta Maeda on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, identical K prop to that of Jack Leiter there. Obviously a cheaper tag, but you don't need to worry about the tag. We're just trying to find ways to get different. And right now the ownership is lower than that of Leiter, 26.6%. And then again, I think there's going to be artificial ownership, whether it's people hand building that get up to the 9K and you just can't spend the money today. It's impossible. So for me, I built a bunch of lineups before the show and it just seems like it was too easy for Jack Leiter to show up and makes me want to go to Kenta Maeda. I'll also say Tampa Bay. I know that they have a very strong lineup and Griffin Canning is overall terrible, but 48.9% ownership coming in on him and the second in the top 2 percentage. So Griffin Canning at 6,800 against Tampa in a decent ballpark for pitching. Definitely a spot that I think is intriguing as well, but wind blowing out ever so slightly out to left here for Kenta Maeda. There are a lot of bats in this Texas lineup that you have to be worried about here long term. Hasn't really come to fruition here yet, but we know what Semien, Seager, Carter, Garcia are going to do. Wyatt Langford is eventually going to start raking. It feels risky, but I think I'm willing to kind of embrace that, considering I do see something happening where we see Leiter higher owned.
By the way, I misspoke. forgive me. Pepio has 51%.
I knew who you meant.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Leiter's at 26%. No real leverage on either side, 28% ownership. Should Leiter be $1,000 more expensive than Pepio is the question.
No.
I don't think so either, right? I mean, it certainly doesn't feel that way. Although
it's a sample size thing more than anything. Like, we have one game that he pitched in 2023, and he's out for the rest of the year. And then this year we have 3 games, 2 starts. So like, we have 4 total starts in 2 years. I don't know what to make of it. Like, we could look back a month from now and say Leiter was $2,000 too cheap, but I think that that's probably unlikely. And then relative to a guy like Pepio, who we just have a much larger sample size, whether it's, with the Dodgers or here now, we can just know more of what we're getting. He's pitched 3 straight consecutive seasons, hasn't pitched a ton in each one of those seasons here at the major league level, but still way more of a known quantity than that of Mr. Leiter. And the strikeout stuff seems to really have spiked here. 30.8% coming off of 23.9% last season, has almost half of that sample size here as well. I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. He's been a career 26-ish% strikeout guy. So for me, Ryan Pepio, yeah, he's definitely undervalued, but the ownership is coming along for the ride as a result.
Yeah, I was going to say the ownership answers the question itself. 71% is crazy right now. Mm-hmm. What is he? He's 9,900 on FanDuel, still getting 50% ownership. Nobody else is north of 17%. That's Jack Leiter. So,
yeah.
I mean, is Pepio the guy you get underweight on opposed to Leiter?
I think what you probably do, again, on 3-game slates, I'm happy to grab a hitter or somebody there. If you think Mike Trout goes completely nuts against anybody, that's never a bad idea to have him up against it. But I am going to be eating the chalk there with Pepio. There's one guy that we haven't talked about yet that I'm kind of intrigued to get your thoughts on too, in Carrasco going up against Boston without Devers in that lineup. But I don't believe a lot of what Carrasco's done here so far. He's kind of been skating by, and 2023's numbers are pretty horrific, but I'm cheering for him, that's for sure. And I think on a 3-game slate, everybody's live, and Carlos Carrasco probably the guy that I'm going to land on because he's the lowest owned out of everybody but Cooper Criswell, who is facing a team that just does not want to strike out here in the Cleveland Guardians. So far this season against right-handed pitching, 20% K rate, 103 WRC plus. So I am inclined to be eating the Pepio chalk.
You might have to, because Carrasco is not going to inspire much confidence there.
No.
10% swinging strike rate, 20% strikeout rate. Essentially, if you were to look at Carrasco at the end of the season, and you're right, last season was not good, but do we just look at him as a slightly below league average pitcher at this point?
Yes,
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and by the way, slightly below average pitcher can still have a decent start.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make him. What's that?
Sean V citing a 1-day sample size. Indians struck out a bunch yesterday, Lindy. Also the wrong team name. So 0 for 2 in that tweet, or in that message. Well done, Sean V. Good to have you back in baseball. My God.
It is the wrong team name, but I think we should stick with it because I was thinking about this today. The Guardians logo, quite possibly the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And if you think about this, the more we advance technologically, just everywhere, it's a civilization. One would argue we're going back in time, but the more we advance, the worse uniforms and jerseys and design gets. That's not even, these Philly City Connect jerseys are outright dog shit. And everyone's happy. Actually, no, the team acted like they were. They probably hated wearing them if you got the real truth there. You go back, look at the old Houston Oilers uniforms, the old Patriots, the old Falcons, the old Kelly Green Eagles jerseys. Even look at now, like baseball, right? The best jerseys, the best uniforms, I should say, are the most basic and like unimposing uniforms. Pittsburgh Pirates, sick uniforms. There's nothing crazy about them. The pinstripes, right? Get this Cleveland Guardians crap, a G with wings on a baseball. Get it out of here, man. Bring back the Indians, in my opinion, because this is, until you find something better, this is terrible.
I have no comment to anything, but I'm probably in your line of thinking. I'm just going to keep moving on.
All right. there's nobody that could argue with me and be right about this. Take one. Okay. Would you buy Guardians merch with that on
No,
the
I would
front of a
not.
shirt?
No, it looks awful.
Walk
I'm
around with
with
that.
you.
It looks like you're a video game enthusiast or
Mhm.
like you watch anime. I don't know.
I know for a fact Jordan Klein is on board with what you're saying because I've seen him wear the horrific things that he wears. I've seen
He's
the
got the
cap.
old school Indians
He
hat, which is
sure
sick.
does. He sure does. He
Yeah,
loves it. He loves it. He probably wears that once a week. I'd probably see him wear it once a week.
it's a good hat.
It's
Don't
good.
let anyone shame you. Anyway, do we want to talk about any other pitchers here? Because I think we went through most of them. There's not. I mean, Griffin Canning. That's gross, but I suppose we could talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I mean, the concern for me with him is against righties. Griffin Canny's had some crazy reverse split stuff. 216 expected ISO. The K rate is there around 28.2% from 2023. But again, 216 expected ISO against righties. There are definitely some righties with some pop here in the Tampa Bay lineup. And Andy Diaz, Ahmed Rosario had some really good at bats watching him yesterday. I had that on simultaneously watching basketball, but Ahmed Rosario not striking out whatsoever and putting bat on ball. Caballero, 295 expected batting average, 441 expected slugging. And Caballero's eventually going to have a little bit more pop than he's had so far, 31.1% hard hit. So there's definitely some righties that can make him pay. I'm probably going to be staying away mostly from the bats in that game. I'm really interested in Detroit. We'll talk about them. They're the lowest in the top stack and my highest owned stack here out of 50 lineups on this slate. So I'm probably going to be trimming a little bit away from Griffin Canning in that entire game. Well, it's going to be close here when we finally finish it out because I do think Carlos Carrasco, I keep going back and forth about because his xFIP is right around 5.29 this season. He's eventually going to get slaughtered. 16.4% walk rate, not ideal either. 353 BABIP needs regression. So like there's some points I can make for and against, but on a 3-game slate, I think it's just going to be let the Sims tool run it and make sure that I get all the Pepio.
I'll say one more thing about Carrasco. Just maybe it sways it one way or another. Definitely good pitching weather in Boston tonight.
Yes.
48-degree temperatures, winds blowing in from right center at like 13 miles per hour. So while Boston can be a pretty favorable hitter's park, it's not really profiling that way right now. And you've also got a guy in Carrasco. He does induce ground balls. He's not like an extreme ground ball. He's not Dallas Keuchel, but he's 47% ground balls for his career, 48% for his career. So he is the type of guy that on a 3-game slate, he is the type of guy that I don't hate going to because you don't need him to be great. You just need him not to get completely tuned up. And it's very possible that like Pepio and Leiter just don't have great starts and Carrasco ends up being viable by process of elimination at 7,400.
Yep, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think it's more of I'm willing to make that kind of a point of leverage if people are going to play Jack Leiter. I know that Jack Leiter is the shiny new toy and people are going to click on it. And if I can get Carlos Carrasco for a third of the ownership, and then you get Devers out of this lineup and put in Wilyer Abreu, who so far this season has a 208 expected slugging, 37.5% K rate. We're talking about like removing one of the best lefties in baseball and inserting one of the worst. So Wilyer Abreu, not somebody that I'm all that concerned of based on his rookie profile. 49.1% hard hit is a bit of a mirage from last year. He only played at the tail end against inferior pitchers in September, basically August, September baseball. And then for this season, I don't expect a 15% walk rate to be sustainable either for him to get on base. He can run a little bit, hasn't done it so far at the big league level, but Wilyer Abreu so far not good.
You know, when it comes to looking at the top stacks tool, some days you'll get a 3-game slate where it's like Dodgers at Coors, right? And they have a 60% top stack probability. Although the Dodgers, my God, every time I stack that team, it just ends in utter disaster. But I know, I believe I saw a tweet from you about that yesterday too.
From what?
About stacking the Dodgers and how that's gone so far.
They can fuck off. That was such a joke yesterday. I was going to win all the money. I jammed King yesterday. Absolutely jammed him. He had an amazing September. Once they turned him into a starter for the Yankees, goes to San Diego. This Milwaukee lineup, I know that they've been awesome against righty pitching, but that's a bit of a mirage, and there's no Christian Yelich in that lineup. Absolutely jammed him. Got nothing to show for it. Lost money on the slate because the Dodgers are incompetent against Jake Irvin. I mean, he's not even the best Irvin in baseball. Cole Irvin's better than him.
How many Irvins are there in baseball? I feel like there's always at least 3 of them.
Yeah, my brain always like has to cycle which one it is because Cole Irvin was with the A's back in the day.
Cole's the lefty.
Cole's the lefty. He's with Baltimore, I think now. I think he's a reliever for Baltimore. Or maybe he gets an odd start here and there, and I don't remember that, but I know he's on Baltimore now.
I thought there was another, but I suppose it's just old Cole and Jake. Anyway, you don't have any of those Dodgers and Coors, right? You don't have any like Yankees against the gas can at Yankee Stadium. What you have, don't get me wrong, there's a couple good spots. The highest top stack probability is the Cleveland Indians in the top stack tool at 21%, Tampa at 19, Texas at 17, and Jordan, yeah, okay, I was going to say pull the top stack tool up. Boston at 16, Angels at 14, and Detroit at 13. So pick your poison here, man. I think a lot of this comes down to ownership, although ownership is pretty spread out, with the Angels, though, getting the least ownership of the group.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's really spread out today.
Yeah, it's really spread out. Somebody said in the chat, mirage. Yeah, no, I'm saying that. Have you seen Milwaukee's numbers against righties so far this season? They've been really, really good. I'm not trying to like belittle them. They're 3rd best in baseball against righties, 126 WRC plus. I don't think that sustains. I know it's nearly 600 plate appearances. We're going to have 6,000 sooner rather than later. Once the sample size gets accumulated, I do not think we are going to have Milwaukee be the 3rd best team in baseball against righties, especially if Yelich is out for any sort of extended period in time with the back injury, which we know he's had major history of. So I'm saying it's a bit of a mirage for that, where it made sense to jam King on that slate. But anyway, back to today. What is your if you had to make one lineup for the people? I know there's a lot of people out there making one lineup. Who do you stack up today?
I'm tempted to say the Angels or Detroit, just given the ownership, but particularly the Angels. I don't know if that's entirely necessary, but Cleveland's just the type of team that never. This is this is a Guardians, formerly known as the Indians.
There you go.
That they're not that good. They don't strike out a lot, and you mentioned that, right? You mentioned they don't strike out that much. They are what? They're 11th, I guess, in WRC plus against righties this season. So assuming you see a bunch of Criswell, fine, but there's still some drawbacks to this spot, seeing that 150 ISO, fine, like around league average, not great hitting weather. It honestly might just be, I might go off the reservation. God,
oh my God.
About that.
Oh my God.
and roll with the Detroit Tigers, with some Detroit Tigers against Leiter. Yeah. What you said at the beginning of the show should resonate with everybody. Leiter could go out there and you go, man, guy looks great. Or he could go out there and just get blown up and still go on to have a great major league career.
Yep. I'm inclined to do the exact opposite of what everybody wants to do in these spots. Everybody wants to play the guy with the 30+% K rate or whatever it might be. There's not any sample size the last 2 years on him. You have to go back to 2022, and that's almost useless to do. I am very much in the camp that a guy who's given up 4 home runs at the AAA level in just 3 games, I'm more willing to attack them than I am to roster them over the field in the first game out of the gate, especially in terms of favorable weather. This is probably the best. I know it's Detroit, not a ballpark we generally want to go out and target. It's got room, I suppose, but wind blowing ever so slightly out to left, 62 degrees, not in Tampa in the Dome, not with the wind blowing in 50 degrees for Boston. Best hitting weather on the slate. So again, I'm kind of looking at that game as the one that I want to get to. I like Detroit, and amongst the quote unquote chalkier stacks, because again, everything's going to be pretty spread out on a slate like this. But I do think Texas is pretty darn appealing against Kenta Maeda as well. But I like what you said as well about targeting Angels bats. I am looking at the top of that lineup as guys that I want to get to against Ryan Pepio in that ownership, and lineups that I'm not going to play him. And then I'll have a couple of lineups here as I'm going through it where I'm going to have one or two of those Angels against him. I mean, if you on a 3-game slate just X out playing any batters up against your pitcher, you're eliminating almost half of the game, like 35% of the game, where they're not going to be negatively correlated. So I'm definitely going to have a couple of those. Not going to go crazy with it, but definitely going to be something that I mix into my lineups.
I like that. And by the way, ran the Sims getting an exorbitant amount, of Tampa Bay stacks right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, link in the description. It's almost over. Playoff promo for NBA. If you left or you felt like coming back, first payment, first week of NBA Sims Max Weekly, 50% off. 50% off the top. That's literally every tool we have on the site. Sims, contest generator, lineup generator, premium Discord, ownership, top stack, boom bust, all of that. Player projections, literally everything on the site, 50% off for the first week. So if you've been on the fence looking for a time to get in, playoffs for basketball, a lot of games to go, a lot of time, worth checking out, and still going to be big prize pools, a lot of money to be made. So link down there in the description and in chat. And of course, you want to get in for MLB, whether it's the lineup generator, get in at a good price. Best entry tool in the industry is the lineup generator, hands down. Check that out. That's down there, and the Sims, all that stuff. We actually just had someone take down 10K 2 days ago with just the top stacks tool. So all the tools can work in their own way for you, depending on how you want to use them. The data, the contest generator, the lineup generator, the Sims, you might find a spot that works best and you play it that way. So check it out. Links to everything in the description and in chat. And of course, 50% off first week of Sims Max Weekly for NBA. But anyway, Griffin Canning, does it stay this bad forever? Probably not. There's generally some positive, negative regression with any of these guys that get out to these type of starts. But on a home run basis and a fly ball basis, it's been bad for him. And you'd like for this game to be in LA ever since the park adjustments. That's been a far more hitter friendly venue.
Yep. But
3.29 home runs per 9 so far this season for him. 20% home run to fly ball rate, and a 51% fly ball rate with 12% soft contact, 8% swinging strikes. Those are not good numbers for Griffin Canning. I understand you may not love Tampa today, but if he continues to be as bad as he's been for at least another start, the Rays do look pretty good.
Yeah, they look really good in that event. Obviously, I do think they end up a little bit more popular. It's hard for anybody who's looking into baseball numbers. Again, 2023, that 236 ISO, 216 expected ISO against righties is just sticking out like a sore thumb. But we'll say he had a 327 BABIP, which I expect some regression on. Had a 268 BABIP against lefties. I probably expect that to go up a little bit as well. So there are reasons that you should be rostering some Canning. And then I totally understand why the Sims tool is jamming some of these Tampa stacks. I'm kind of inclined to lower that a little bit. I don't want to be getting to like 55% Tampa Bay stacks on this slate. And again, I am inclined to embrace some of the Detroit variants, the Jack Leiter variants, and see exactly what we got going. You kind of want to make a stand there. And I think my stand is just, I have way more Detroit bats than the field. Vierling, Carpenter specifically, even in those other lineups, they are two of my highest owned batters.
All right, let's do this. And then we'll just take a quick peek at this 2-game night slate. Again, I don't know if it plays with that rain coming in through Wrigley, but we'll take a quick peek at it. Do you have a favorite contrarian pitcher and a favorite contrarian stack? I think Detroit's got to be my favorite contrarian stack, just given the unknown in Jack Leiter. What about you for both of those?
Well, we didn't even talk about him now, and apparently the Sims tool, as I'm finishing it out, really likes the Cooper Criswell one. I'm not sure what to make of that. It is just a 6 pitchers, 3-game slate. So for what it's worth, I don't know that I really have an opinion about it.
He
other
did
than
throw
it would
83
appear,
pitches last game.
It would appear that it's under-owned. He is stretched out, I think, after the first inning comes in and should be able to do some work against the back half of that Cleveland lineup. He gets to avoid in that first time through Jimenez, Fry, Jose Ramirez, potentially Josh Naylor and his 11% K rate. And the back half has strikeouts. Bo Naylor, Ramon Laureano has been striking out for years now. Gabriel Arias has been striking out forever. He's always been that one guy who's around 25-30% K rate in the Cleveland Guardians back half of the lineup. So there's a decent amount of Ks that I think that might be targeting here. And I think it probably has more to do with the ownership that we're kind of assuming is going to come in. He's got 7% ownership, does Cooper Criswell. On any 3-game slate where you get a stretched out pitcher who's going to be that low owned, even against Cleveland, I think you embrace it.
Okay. It makes sense.
But I like Carrasco as the contrarian one, which is awful.
Was just going to say, I think Carrasco, just because you might not need a stellar performance for him to get there and be a top 2 option today, particularly on DraftKings.
Yep. I got him in 44% of lineups, Carrasco.
Miami, Chicago, Arizona, San Francisco. We could do this quick. Yep. And then move forward. By the way, sleeper free square tonight. If you're new, $500 first match deposit bonus and a free square. Logan Webb strikeouts down from 4.5 to 0.5 a strikeout. So you get 1 strikeout from Logan Webb. Boom. There you go. Now you just need the other piece or other 2 pieces of your card to hit and you're in business. Up to 100x there. Dynamic pricing so you can grab home run props and all of those stolen bases, doubles, triple doubles in basketball. Really cool format they've got going on there. You can do it all from the app. $500 first match deposit bonus is the best of any pick'em site. And they do free squares essentially every day for any new user. Today, Logan Webb, 0.5 a strikeout. So be sure to check that out if you're not there. Link in the description and in chat. AJ Puck, he's walked 14 batters in 10 2/3 innings, Eric. That's not great.
It's really bad. This is always the unknown of getting a guy who's an elite bullpen arm and trying to stretch him out. This is kind of an issue in spring training, not nearly as pronounced, obviously, but a 24.1% walk rate just ain't it. Last season, he was elite, 5.4% walk rate. Got to expect that to be figured out eventually, but man, it is really tough to watch here at the moment. He's a very touted arm. He obviously was never going to be somebody that somebody who is, I don't know. I thought he was going to be good right from the get-go, if I'm being honest. 5.58 expected ERA is problematic. This 4-seamer coming off of last year, I mean, it makes sense when you see velocity dips for guys coming from bullpen arms where you're able to just go out and chuck ad nauseum, but like 2.2 miles per hour is very pronounced and very problematic. And that's leading to him obviously missing location. He doesn't want to get hit up. Maybe he's trying to look at the zone and just he's lost at the moment. And the fastball velocity being down just makes him so targetable right now on a 2-game slate. AJ Puck, I don't know what to make of the K rate going from 32% last season as a bullpen arm into 13.8%, but I got to think it's going to be somewhere in the middle of that eventually. The problem is just, do the walks go away? Does the velocity come back up? These are just unknown things at this point in time this season.
I have some trouble feeling good about that. I will say though, if it plays 48 degrees at first pitch, 13 mile per hour winds blowing in from left center field, it is good pitching weather. The problem is that doesn't matter if you can't hit the strike zone.
Yeah. And like, 30.6% ground ball rate. So it will be getting airborne, but I mean, God, he has just been all over the place. And, it's really hard to trust on a full slate, let alone a 2-gamer where you've got to consider him in a number of lineups. I would be looking to be underweight right now.
I'd honestly rather go to Jamison Tyon in his first start. 68 pitches in his final tune-up. I don't think he's going to be I don't think he's going to have any strict limitations. I'm not saying he's great, but they're big favorites on the money line at home. Miami, bottom 10 team versus right-handed pitching. They might not have the most strikeouts, but I think I'd prefer Tyon at essentially the same price.
Yeah, and I hope this game plays. Last night was able to get this at -151, moving north of that very, very quickly. Felt like it was always going to. Miami going to be without Jake Berger for a while. Chicago up and down this lineup has power, has opportunities left on left, right on right. Doesn't really matter what lineup configuration you throw out, what pitcher you throw out. I think the Cubs are going to be a team that has upside throughout this entire season. And especially if Michael Busch can be doing what he's doing against some of these righties at the moment, even against a lefty and AJ Puck today, I don't think there's any reason you keep him out of the lineup anymore. Probably have him 5-6 hole looking at a lot of the projected spots. So I do agree with you. Jameson Taillon, first start, but we kind of know who he is. And this is a Miami lineup that's just so brutal here at the moment. They're not striking out as much as what I was expecting. 22.6% is basically middle of the road against righties, but an 89 WRC plus, 135 ISO, checks all the boxes with the weather, and Jameson Taillon just being steady Eddie, which is kind of like the opposite of what we have with AJ Puck.
Arcatel's he said, man, I need to sign up for late slate. If it goes to one game, what happened? They'll just cancel it and then just run showdowns. Right? Yeah, they have to. They just cancel it.
Yeah, you can't. You have to have 2 games or more.
Yeah, unless it's the showdown format. So, yeah. And Rants, I agree. I hate showdowns for baseball. I don't touch them. I can't. Do you enjoy them? I love it for football. I'm fine with it I do not like showdowns for baseball.
It depends. What's really unfortunate is they did some stuff. I'm not sure if it was at the tail end of last year or the beginning of this year, but I've toyed around with stuff, and they've changed it so starting pitchers rotation pitchers are no longer like the 3K guys, because people weren't clicking on the button to see the like the pitchers, and people apparently can't pull up the roster thing on FanGraphs to be able to see which relievers pitched on which day, which again, on roster resource at FanGraphs, it does all of that for you. It was such a great edge to have. It was a very small edge that you could have. Yeah. The bullpen guys, to be able to get to them at 3K. Now they've elevated them to like 4,500, 5K in some spots, just to make them almost borderline unplayable. Makes it a lot less enjoyable because, yeah, those were good times. Marcus Semien leadoff home run right out of the gate against Maeda.
Wow, okay.
That was quick.
Ryan Nelson, Logan Webb's the best option here, but he hasn't had great strikeout stuff to start the season. Obviously, a quality park that he's pitching in today at home in San Francisco really suppresses home runs. You know, the free square on Sleeper, you take advantage of that all day. But at the same time, I can't help but look at Ryan Nelson, as gross as it may be. You and I were talking about it before the show. Ownership obviously plays a role in all of this stuff. But the truth is, like, when you look at Ryan Nelson, he added 5 miles per hour to his cutter. It's gotten decent results. He's not like gas can. He's not great either. I mean, he might be booted from the rotation. We'll see if they keep him, or was it Tommy Henry? But at the same time, there are 4 guys projected to be in this starting lineup for San Francisco that have 27+% strikeout rates against right-handed pitching. There are strikeouts in this lineup, and quite a bit.
Not only that, but like the 4-seamer is kind of an interesting concept of what's going on. Like, it is dropping 2.4 inches more than normal. Now, that's his primary pitch. And if you're able to start getting ground balls with that pitch specifically, Ryan Nelson could end up being a different pitcher than we project. Now, the ballpark helps if there are any of those issues, so that it's almost a little redundant, but that's his primary pitch that has definitely increased in its profile, definitely tougher to gauge coming off of his cutter if it's going to be dropping that much down into the zone. You look at like the heat map, he generally is somebody who makes his mistakes high in the zone, gets hit up at times there. If he's improving that pitch specifically, I do think the K rate going up from 15.5% to 20.3% is sustainable. That is the primary pitch, 4.11 expected ERA, not getting hit up as much to the tune of a 219 expected batting average with that 4-seamer. I think that there are positive signs for Ryan Nelson. And then to add into it, he's the least expensive pitcher. He is the least owned pitcher on this slate. I feel pretty good about Ryan Nelson on this 2-gamer relative to what it appears the field does.
Honestly, so do I, especially if AJ Puck's going to be 10% more owned than he is.
Agreed.
So, yeah. So the way I see it now is basically Webb is still going to be the guy that you're getting, I think, the most of. But aside from that, I'd probably go Nelson, Tyon, Puck.
I'd probably go. So Logan Webb being number 1 for you or number 4?
No, I think he's still number 1.
He's number 1 for me
He's
too.
still the best pitcher on the slate by a pretty wide margin. And while he hasn't gotten off to the greatest start, it's a great park. And we know that like the pedigree, everything's there. He's still the best pitcher here. The other guy is Ryan Nelson, AJ Puck, who can't stop issuing free passes, and Tyon, who I think could have a good start. But again, it's his first start of the season.
Yeah, I really fucked up yesterday because it was plus 150 and now it's down to like plus 120. So everybody saw kind of what I saw. I just didn't have the gumption to pull the trigger on it for Ryan Nelson against Logan Webb. But I'm with you now. Now it's almost like I'm kind of interested in the San Francisco side for it if they're going to be inside of minus 150 everywhere. Logan Webb is the best pitcher out of all 4 on this slate, and I don't think it's remotely close. The fly ball rate has started to come up. The ground ball rate isn't as insane as what it was last season, but we've seen guys like Framber Valdez not really affect them at times. Second half of his season was abysmal, and a couple of starts here so far, it's been hit and miss. But for the most part, 62.7% ground ball rate to 50.6. That is definitely going to be muted by the ballpark. Going to be muted by the fact that I do think he's going to have better swing and miss stuff as we keep going. Primarily a changeup guy, sinker guy. So eventually we're going to see the ground balls start to show back up here in a very prominent way. And I expect better than a 17% K rate. So he'll be on the up and up for me. 5.20 expected ERA. He was been around a 3.5 guy for the last 3 years in a row. I don't think there's any reason to hit the alarm bells looking at his pitch mix. So Logan Webb, I think, is definitely somebody that you should still be targeting today.
How would you order these guys? Just quickly, 1 through 4.
Yeah, so I think you had it exactly the way I would go. Logan Webb 1, Ryan Nelson 2, Jameson Tyon 3, but I think I'd have pretty close amounts of all 3 of them. Like Logan Webb, I'd probably, just based on the ownership, I think I'd be jamming a little bit more Ryan Nelson than I would be Logan Webb, but I'd still have 50-60% Logan Webb here. And then I just ran, so now I can actually tell you exactly what I got. Come on, order. There we go. And favorite 150. And yeah, so 54% Logan Webb in my top 150. Jameson Tyon a little bit higher there. Ryan Nelson 48%. AJ Puck 10. Oh wow, boy, okay. That would be freaky.
Yeah. You look at Chicago on the other side of this one. I mean, top stack probability is what it is at this point. But the thing I hate about stacking against these guys is walks only give you 2 points. But also he's struggled so much to get deep into games. Miami has the 6th highest bullpen xFIP on the season, 21% strikeout rate, which is, hardly impressive for a bullpen. That hasn't been great either. So I think you look at Chicago as pretty solid here. San Fran, you still have to target. The one I have for the question I have for you, Arizona and Miami. So Tyon, we like him. We like Logan Webb, but what do you make of those two? Just knowing that like there's a Logan, I think Arizona will be less popular than we have them right now, just because Logan Webb's the most expensive and proven pitcher on the slate.
Yeah, and Arizona doesn't strike out a lot against righties for what it's worth. Again, Logan Webb, I'm not expecting him to go out and mow down anybody from Arizona. 18.3% K rate, 3rd best at avoiding strikeouts against right-handed pitching, but only a 92 WRC plus. I am going to be, obviously it's a 2-game slate, so I'm going to be playing hitters up against my pitchers. I have absolutely no problem whatsoever doing that. I think Arizona is probably the lineup that I want to get to the most. In the Sims right now, that is not the case here. I'm getting the most of the Cubs, but I probably, again, just playing the game theory aspect of it, knowing that Logan Webb's going to be the most popular pitcher, people are probably going to be uncomfortable clicking on Arizona up against them. Probably the best offense on the slate outside of Chicago.
Anything else you want to get to for this one? I figured we'd hit on it real quick, just since people are still with us. But
yeah, I love it.
I think that's about it for me.
Yeah, I think be cautious of, like you don't need a stack up against your own pitchers or anything, but, just take a look at the post-contest sim. Take a look at other places to find out what other top players are doing and who they're playing up against, their pitchers on 2-3 game slates. Let that inform some of your decision-making. I think paying attention to who ends up catching there. I really like Patrick Bailey in pretty much all circumstances, pretty much hate getting to some of these other catchers. Like Gabriel Moreno keeps getting scratched, so you got to pay attention to that one. Make sure that you have enough salary if you're going to play Gabriel Moreno or something there, because, again, I just don't know if he ends up catching here or not, because Tucker Barnhart basically been enacted after lock on a couple of these slates. So just small things to pay attention to, but for the most part, did a pretty good job of covering everything quickly. And obviously, if the Chicago game gets rained out, sorry, none of this matters.
Yeah, well, just pay attention, because if it ends up being a significant in-game delay, you won't want pitchers there. So worth keeping an eye on if that game goes off on time and then rain comes in, and you know how it goes. Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out. Remember, one of your last chances to get 50% off Sims Max weekly for NBA. All of our other stuff, Sims, lineup generator, data, all of our tools in the description, week, month. You have questions, hit us up, Discord, DMs on Twitter, whatever it may be. And we'll catch you guys back here for the next one. Thanks for hanging out. Weird slate today. Be back with a much bigger one tomorrow.